making our ganache, which is going to be filled with Crispies, which is a layer of our entremet. And we're just going to wait for the cream to scald, which I'm in the process of right now. And once it's scalded, all you do is add it to the couverture chocolate and fold it.
Now, today we're using semi-sweet couverture, which contains 65% cocoa liquor. Couverture also contains cocoa butter, sugar, lecithin, and vanillin. Chocolate contains 6 times the antioxidants of a blueberry, and it contains high percentages of magnesium and iron, which helps cleanse the blood, which can help prevent heart attacks.
About the method of preparation for the vanilla chiffon cake. The first step is to whip your egg yolks and half of the sugar until it comes to full volume. Then slowly add your oil while still mixing on second speed. Then in a separate bowl, whip your egg whites with the sugar and add all the sugar at the beginning of mixing so your egg whites are more stable. Then you sift the cake flour and baking powder together and combine your vanilla and water. And then alternately add the flour mixture and the water mixture into the egg yolks by hand. And then fold in the meringue. And scale 1 pound 8 ounces of batter for every 9-inch cake and bake at 350 to 360 degrees.
We use cake flour in this recipe because it contains less protein, glutamine, and gliadin, and more starch than another flour, bread flour. The cake flour provides a lighter crumb structure than the bread flour would, and that's why we use it.
Our next step is to cut the cake, and we need to cut really thin layers. You can cut any, or you can have any cake you want to. We made a vanilla chiffon cake. Just be sure to take the parchment paper off the bottom, throw that away. And the first thing we need to do is cut the dome part off. So I'm going to do that. And don't worry if you have a dome because you can just
Eat it.
Okay, so I cut it into 4 very thin layers, and we're only going to use 2 for our cake, but you can freeze the other 2 or use them for another entremet or composed dessert.
Now we're actually going to start assembling our dessert. We have a cake ring and we've lined it with acetate paper, and we put our first layer of cake down. In order to moisten the cake layers, we're going to put a little bit of simple syrup, which our simple syrup is 1.2 parts of sugar to 1 part of water, which makes 30 degrees.
Bar made!
Mr. Carly Pump.
Okay, now since even though we're not using icing for our cake today, I am going to review some icings with you. There's fudge icing, which is made with a sugar syrup, and it's used for brownies and cupcakes. It has a really grainy texture, and it's very stiff, dense icing. Next we have fondant icing, which is used to glaze and coat pedophores. It can be used white or lightly colored with pastels. It's 100% sugar, 40% water, 15% glucose, and it's cooked until 240 degrees. It's very soft and sticky at first, but will dry. Never warm it above 100 degrees, as this will cause the fondant to crystallize. Buttercream is the most widely used icing. It's very sweet, has a smooth texture, and a very nice flavor. 40% of the fat must be butter in order for this to be considered buttercream.
Hi guys, this is the buttercream of the tree segment. The first type of buttercream is the American buttercream, which is also known as grease cream because it's a very low quality. It's shortening creamed with confectionery sugar. Will likes it, but I don't think anybody else does. Italian buttercream. You cook the sugar and water to 250 degrees and whip the whites with 1/3 of the sugar. You slowly add the sugar/water mixture and then add the softened butter. It's smooth, shiny, soft, and has a great mouthfeel, but it's expensive and time consuming. As well as the Swiss, where you heat the whites and the sugar to 110 degrees to dissolve the sugar, and you whip until it gets cool, and then you add the butter. The French is the most richest buttercream. It's made with a pâte bombe, which we use in our cake. It's heavy, rich, and more yellow than any other icing, other than the German buttercream, which is the last type of buttercream, which is made with pastry cream and added butter.
Hello, this is the sugar by the tree segment. Sugar has many purposes in baking. It adds sweetness and flavor and adds color because of caramelization. A smaller crystal size browns faster, such as honey. Sugar also creates texture, moisture, and tenderness in a product, and sugar is a preservative.
Okay, now it's time for final assembly. Before we do the final assembly, we need to make sure we have all of our mise en place. Plain ganache. Ganache with the Crispies. Cake in the ring on a cake board and a wheel. Your second layer of cake. Simple syrup. An offset spatula. And the cream cheese filling. Alright, first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and put simple syrup on our first layer of cake. And now we need to put on our ganache with the Crispies. And spread with our offset spatula. Scrape our knife. And we add half of our cream cheese filling. Just eyeball it, it doesn't really matter. Alright, scrape our knife. Next, our second layer of cake. Simple syrup. Okay. Go back to our cheesecake. Filling. And try to smooth out as much as possible, because when you pour the ganache over, it's going to show all of your mistakes, if you have any. And have it scrape around the edge.